Matthew 17, verses 1 through 19, Transfiguration. In our verses this morning, we see Jesus take 3 disciples to the mountaintop, where they experience the transfiguration of Jesus. What happens? Verse 2 tells us, his face shone like the sun, and his clothes became as white as light. Transfiguration, a change. In all my readings, the reference keeps going to that of a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly. So why am I telling you this? To give you an idea, a picture, if you will, in your head of something being one thing and totally changing into something else. And this is huge because Peter, James, and John witness this and see Moses and Elijah talking to Jesus. This transfiguration is an act of God. God reveals this to the disciples. Jesus is here with Moses and Elijah, who, it's important to remember, were also rejected by the people. The New Interpreter's Bible, Volume 8, tells us that Elijah and Moses were vindicated by God. So Peter, James, and John see Moses and Elijah talking with Jesus. This is it. Peter tells Jesus, it is good for us to be here. He may have a lack of full understanding of what was happening because it's so good, he doesn't want to leave. Because the next thing Peter asks Jesus is about putting up shelter. Right there on the mountain. It's like Peter was putting Jesus in the same category as Moses and Elijah, as prophets and not the Messiah. What does this mean? They want to stay right there in all of Jesus' glory. It is good. I feel something like this every time I go to church, a Bible study, licensing school, ministry summits, annual conference, and anything else where I feel surrounded by God, by the ministry, the people of God, and all the good feelings that they entail, with all of God's glory. I don't want to leave. I want to stay in these moments. I feel closer to God. I feel good. I don't want to go home and take out the garbage or do the dishes. I don't want to go from the glory feeling to mundane feeling. I'm here. I don't want to be back here. But Jesus isn't done teaching his disciples or us. And so they go back down the mountain, where they come to a crowd. A man approached Jesus, telling him about his son. His son is sick, and he asked Jesus for mercy. He tells Jesus how he brought his son to the disciples, but they could not heal him. Jesus heals the boy. And the disciples ask why they couldn't heal him. Well, what do you think? Why couldn't the disciples heal the boy? What does this show us? Is this a bad thing? I would offer you no. No, it's not a bad thing that the disciples couldn't heal this boy. It shows us that they were not perfect, and they could fail, just like us, right? We're not perfect. We will fail. The important aspect of this is that we see Jesus doesn't fail. It shows Jesus' greatness. It's like this in today's world, right? I'm sure each of us could testify to moments of glory, a glimpse of the future we will one day have. We will be able to embrace this in all of God's glory. And it's natural, it's human to want to stay right there in that moment in all of God's glory. And this is a good thing too. It teaches us to go to Jesus with our problems. You've all heard me say, take all to God. Your prayers, your joys, your concerns, your happiness, your sadness. God already knows of them. So why do this? Why take it to God if God already knows? Why bother? Because it will allow you a closer relationship with God. These verses show us the three disciples getting a glimpse of God's glory on that mountaintop. But they went back down because there was more to do. While our testifying moments are surely not that of being on a mountaintop, witnessing Jesus' face shining like the sun and his clothes becoming as white as light, but our moments can be no less significant because we know of God's glory. And while we want to be here, we have to return here because there's much to be done. And in between taking the garbage out and doing the dishes, we will have our moments where God's glory shines through. And this is good because it teaches us not to be mechanical. Don't be mechanical in our ministry. We don't want it to be a job. It makes me think of the Dunkin' Donut commercial many years ago, where it seems like the poor man is in an never-ending loop because all you see him doing is getting up in the morning, time to make the donuts. He's up in the morning, time to make the donuts, and on and on. I believe he even goes around in a circle as he's saying, time to make the donuts. Don't be mechanical. Keep your faith strong. Forge your relationship with God. Bask in the glimpses of God's glory. Meet Jesus in the mission field because it is here, in the mission field, that we will pave the way to an everlasting glory in Jesus Christ.